In today's video, I'm going to be going to a lithium spring because yes, they still exist. They've been around for a very, very long time. But what's really interesting is that over the years, there have been tons of studies done, and people have found that the cities and towns and villages where lithium springs supply the water, that those places have lower crime and unaliving rates, which I think is pretty cool to show that such a low amount of lithium can have such a profound effect on the surrounding community. So today, join me as I go on a little bit of an adventure with my dad. Say hi to everyone, Dad.
Hey, everybody.
And we're headed to one that is somewhat local. We have to drive a couple hours to get there, and it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, but I'm super excited about it because, as you guys know, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to these things, especially when it comes to lithium. So yeah, we have about, an hour and a half before we get there, and I kind of want to take a second and talk about how lithium is just one of the most amazing things in the history of mental health treatment. So today, lithium in the form of lithium carbonate is used to treat bipolar disorder. It primarily treats bipolar relapse, so people take it as a maintenance medication to treat bipolar disorder and prevent episodes from happening, but it got its start treating acute mania and treating episodes, which I think is pretty interesting. And back when it was first came out decades and decades and decades ago, there was also a lot of people in mental institutions that were there for a long period of time. So it was long-term care. And so they started giving lithium to these patients because it was proven that it worked to help treat these conditions. And it led the charge, along with an antipsychotic called chlorpromazine, to get people out of the hospital so that they could live fairly average, somewhat normal, for lack of a better term, lives. That's kind of like where we are now with it. But it was also found in the popular soft drink 7-Up for a while. I don't know how much was in it. It was kind of very, very, very kept under wraps how much lithium was in 7-Up, but lithium used to be found in 7-Up and it was taken out of the soda in 1948. So that's where we are now. But yeah, okay, all right, I'll keep you updated.
As one might be able to guess, the journey to the lithium spring was a lot of backcountry roads. Since it was kind of in the middle of nowhere, we had to, get to the middle of nowhere. And I'll be honest, I didn't know how in the middle of nowhere we'd be, but the more time we spent on the road, the more I was starting to realize this fact. We knew we were in the right place when there was a road sign that said Lithia Springs Road. And really, Lithia Springs Road was barely a road at all. So, welcome to the middle of nowhere. The gravel road we ended up on was a gorgeous little path with overgrown trees. It was almost like we were underneath a canopy, and it was weirdly peaceful in a way. I was acutely aware, though, that we were very far away from the city, but we still trudged on, and all I could do was trust my dad that we were in the right place. We ended up parking on the side of the quote-unquote road, surrounded by downed trees and overgrown vegetation. Like I said, middle of nowhere. But this is where things get a little interesting, because we learned pretty quickly that we weren't alone out there. There was someone playing music, copyrighted music at that, and that music rang out over the whole area. So while we searched for the spring, we were becoming increasingly more anxious because frankly, we didn't want to be noticed by whoever was playing the music. The lithium spring was on public property though, so we had that going for us.
So we actually made it to at least what we think is close to the lithium spring. So there's like a little waterfall here, and this is the spring house for the lithium spring, and we are basically in the middle of nowhere. But I kind of love the backcountry area of North Carolina and how it just looks. I don't know. It's just kind of like I live in the city, and so it's nice to be in places like this. So all right, I guess we will continue on our path.
What's funny is that my dad knew what we were looking for, which was good because I did not. But the spring itself was merely a small PVC pipe that was jammed into the side of a rock in a creek. And that little stream of water that came out of it, that was the spring. I then started to collect my water from that PVC pipe in glass bottles. Since lithium used to be in 7-Up, and 7-Up is in a green bottle, I figured it would be poetic to fill a green bottle with the water. And because that copyrighted music is still playing, you get more voiceovers. One thing I talk about here was how I was warned there might be a sulfur smell to the water. But I didn't smell it here right away, and I didn't think about whether I did or not. It's not harmful in any way, just a fun byproduct of the nature of the spring. I'll talk about that later though, because there was a more pressing matter. Because while I was filming this part of the video, shots rang out from the same place the music was playing. Several of them too. And one thing I've learned about living in the southeastern United States is that there's a lot of this kind of behavior. You go out in the middle of nowhere and people are just taking shots on their property. which is why you see that I end up almost laughing instead of looking afraid. It was also a reaction as a way to cope with how ridiculous and crazy it was, because it was ridiculous and crazy. But again, there's a lot of this in the South. A lot. So while we kept hearing shots, we didn't freak out beyond saying we should probably be a little quieter. In other words, we didn't think we were in danger, even though we wanted to be safe just in case. But we did want to get out of there more quickly once we started hearing them. After I got my lithium water, that is. And so we left, lithium water in tow, trying to be as quiet as possible while we creeped through the trees to get away from all of that, and safely got back to our car. After this, we ended up driving to an IKEA, and it hit me later how odd that whole experience was. To get water from a spring that was just a pipe and a rock, all while hearing shots nearby while I was filming. All I can say is the backwoods in the South are wild, y'all. Whew, wee-wee. That was quite a time. Went there, did the thing, never going back. Absolutely never going back to that lithium spring ever again. It was fun while I did it. It was fun in the moment, kinda. But I'm glad I'm back home safe. But now is the part of the video where I actually try the water that I got from the lithium spring. And some of you might be wondering, Kit, don't you take lithium like as a medication to treat your schizoaffective disorder? Isn't drinking lithium water kind of dangerous? And there's actually two parts to the answer to that question. The first part is that I actually take a very low dose of lithium, which I'll get to in a second, but I don't actually take a typical dose of someone even with bipolar disorder. I actually take a fairly low dose that has the effects that I want, so I don't have to be on a higher dose. My doctor and I got really lucky in the sense that the dose I'm on now actually does treat the mood symptoms that were causing me issues at the time. I can always raise it in the future if I have more mood symptoms, but I've been on the dose I'm on now for quite some time now. The second part is actually answered by my former psychiatrist, who tested lithium water in, I believe, either Georgia or North Carolina. This spring was in North Carolina, and found that if you were to drink all of your recommended water for the day from the lithium spring that he tested, you would end up with 9 milligrams of lithium. And to give you an idea, my low dose that I mentioned earlier in this video, I take 300 milligrams a day. 300 milligrams, and that's a low dose. Sometimes people with bipolar disorder will take up to 1,200 milligrams, 900 milligrams. So me being on lithium, even if I was on a higher dose, 9 extra milligrams, if I was to drink all of the water in one day, all the water I needed for one day, it would only be 9 extra milligrams. So basically, I asked my doctor, said, hey, can I go drink the lithium spring water? He said 100% absolutely. So I've been cleared to do it. I was told why I could do it. Now I've told you why I can do it. So now I'm gonna do it. So one thing I want to make very clear is that I did boil this water. And I did clean the container. Like I cleaned this bottle. So I'm actually a little bit nervous. To do this. But I boiled the water, so it is clean. I actually put it in my fridge, so it's been chilling. There. So I got some nice ice cold lithium water going with it. Yeah, I'm actually shaking. I don't know why. I mean, it's probably just gonna taste like regular water, but I'm not 100% sure. But I'm gonna pour it in this little glass. So when I got it, I mentioned earlier in this video that I didn't really smell much of a sulfur smell, but I will say that after I had gotten a lot of the water into the bottle, and there had been some I'd been sitting there for a while, I did smell a slight sulfur smell, but I would say this smells like absolutely nothing, and that's probably because it's been boiled, it's been sitting there, so the smell must have dissipated. So yeah, I'm actually shaking. This is absolutely crazy. I mean, I've been wanting to go to a lithium spring for a really long time, so this is kind of a little bit of a nerdy dream of mine to actually go to one, and I'm really glad I did. But yeah, okay, let's drink the water. It tastes different. Definitely tastes different. But it doesn't taste minerally. I mean, I wouldn't say, how you go to a new place and maybe the tap water tastes a little different? It's kind of like that. It tastes like slightly off tap water. But other than that, it's actually really refreshing. I kind of like it. I'm gonna hang on to this water. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Spring water.
natural spring water, lithium spring water. Yeah, huh. I mean, I don't know what I expected, but it just kind of tastes like water. Yeah, so there's no extra sensation, extra taste from the lithium. I mean, it just tastes like water. Yeah, okay, so that's me. Diagnosed bipolar, goes to Lithium Spring, bipolar type of schizoaffective disorder, but diagnosed bipolar, goes to Lithium Spring and tries the water. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for joining me and making the uncomfortable comfortable. Have a great day, and bye-bye.